Hi, Evan.
Hey Tia, nice to join you.
Nice to join you. I'm super excited to have you on the show. So, I know a little bit about your background, and some listeners will, but I know that you're going to be new to a lot of the audience as well. Can you start off by just sharing a little bit about your journey and how you got to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I think the big event that really sort of pushed me down this direction was the 3 months I spent living in a hut in Thich Nhat Hanh's Plum Village Monastery. So my brother was actually a monk there living with Thich Nhat Hanh, and over a period of time he convinced me to come and visit him. I guess you could see me sort of stuck in this unhealthy circle where I was trapped very much in sort of that pleasure trap, chasing after my happiness and all those external things, the sex, drugs, parties, you know, um, the consumer world type of thing. And 3 months there was a chance to just really stop and slow down and really, for the first time in my life, spend time by myself. We've got so many covers and distractions in our world that we never get to feel bored or lonely. And I guess that was the first time where I had such a substantial amount of time without my phone or TV or laptop or without friends. And I really had to sit with myself and all those discomforts that I usually just ran away from. And yeah, after those 3 months, that pretty amazing experience. But where I didn't run away from my suffering for the first time. I just wrote a piece about my experiences there, and that turned into a book. And from that book, it was called Solitude. I got invited to do a lot of talks at schools about my experiences, about slowing down, about our relationship with alcohol and why we're doing all these things we're doing, and just really sort of I guess during that time just building getting to know myself a little bit more and building a more of a solid foundation for building well-being within myself. And I did that a lot on the individual side. So I ran a lot of workshops and talks, and I started doing soft sand walking meditations on Bondi Beach, which is Australia's busiest beach, just to give people these simple tools and skills to take control of their well-being, I guess. And from there, I guess I started looking at it from a business perspective. As individuals, we can teach people the art of happiness. I saw business can be a bigger driver of that in terms of having so much more reach and in what it can do. And then it sort of just flowed from there. I started working with Hapsley and the new book Awake. So
Mhm.
basically that experience in Plum Village was the one that sort of got me down this direction, and trying to just spread the tools and skills that I'd learned that had been extremely beneficial for my life, and hopefully passing on to other people who can benefit also.
Sounds like you have a lot to be thankful for your brother for inviting you to
Yeah,
come.
yeah, definitely. I think his emails over that period of time essentially changed my life and really altered the direction I was heading in.
Mhm.
So who knows what I'd be doing without his care.
Yeah. Reminds me, it's a shorter period, but reminds me of sort of Jay Shetty's experience too, where he was like in the, a banking and partying and yeah, all of that. And then actually went and took
Mm,
time away. And what a gift that you were able to do that.
mm.
So talk about and share, because a lot of the listeners are leaders and working in different size companies. And I know you have a focus right now on small business, but it would be awesome to hear about what Hapsley is working on right now and how business leaders can be thinking about business as we move forward into 2022 and onward.
Yeah, so I guess it's just shifted a lot as running a business, and things are always shifting and evolving, especially over the last couple of years. So, for me, what I'm really focusing on now is the smaller businesses, basically around this idea of where we spend our time and money shapes the world. Spend it with businesses that are doing really cool things for their people, for their environment, and for their local community. Then we spread a little bit of good a little bit further.
Mhm.
In Australia here. I think it's very similar in the US. Majority of businesses, I think over 90% are got less than 19 employees, and they're typically the ones who maybe don't have the skills or resources to implement things in their business, whether it's around employee well-being. They can't really, dive into a complex mental well-being program. So that's why we've created some simple guided meditations that are short for employees to start meetings, whether it's for 2 to 3 minutes or 7 minutes short guided meds. But businesses in retail and hospitality that are typically overlooked get some benefits. And then, of course, that benefits the consumers that they're coming in contact with each day, and then it benefits their relationship with their husbands and wives and kids at home too. Mm-hmm. And also, things like sustainability and even knowing how to implement things in their business that can benefit their local natural environment can be quite tricky. They're overwhelmed and busy. So we wanted to make it very simple. So we've created this ideas pool full of, at the moment, over 100 ideas that businesses can implement around sustainability, around, doing more for their local community and their people. But they can just pick one, and then that's the sort of the one cool thing. And us as consumers, when we walk down the street, we can easily identify those businesses that are trying to do more and implementing things that are benefiting them and their community, which has been, more important since COVID, with so many empty shops here in the local area I live in. So many businesses have left, and a lot more people are shopping online. So that's something that over the next 10 years, what they will do to our local communities is actually a very interesting thing. So if more people choose online and don't walk down the street and really build those intimate connections with the local shop owners, it's easy to just say shop local, but without having that connection between a business actually cares more about their people in the local area too, then it doesn't really go too far.
Right. Oh my gosh, there's so many things that you said there. Okay, so I think it's fascinating and awesome that you're combining sustainability and mental health, right? Both which contribute to society's happiness and obviously the planet's happiness and health. So if there's small businesses that want to tap into this ideas pool and into some of the like meditation and other offerings, how can a small business partner with you? How does it work if they say, yeah, we're interested in using both of that mental health and the sustainability piece?
Yeah, so they just jump on board and basically make a commitment to do one cool thing from the ideas pool. And a lot of these businesses are doing really good things, very simple things that just we don't know. There's not like, it's not known to the customer, so then it's not affecting our how we spend our time and money. And I think that's something that really got me interested in, Hapsley as a driver for change, or a driver to promote happiness in the first place, is because there is so many great individuals doing great things, and also a lot of businesses doing great things. But if it's not connecting to where we spend our time and money, then it's really limited in its impact. And I wanted to build that more transparency. So basically they jump on board, they make that commitment. It's a pay what you can. So a lot of the small businesses don't have to pay anything if they're in a particular period, especially now where things are tough. They jump on board, get access to the ideas pool with the guided meditations, which are constantly changing, interviews of local businesses and things like that to build more intimate connections. And then from there, they get the branding and marketing, so they can, as we walk past the shop, we can easily identify that as a business that's doing more, and then we promote them on different socials and in different events. So it's sort of like a way to rebuild local communities, but also better support small businesses, which make up a huge majority of businesses in the US and Australia. And if they are neglected, then that's a huge amount of businesses that aren't doing good things for their employees or good things for the planet or local communities. And that shapes the relationships with people all around you that might be missed out on. They're typically the things that only big businesses can afford.
I mean, that phrase that you said of, where we spend our time and money shapes the world is so valuable, because I definitely know, as a busy working parent that always feels, I don't want to say time strapped, but just busy, happily busy with kids and work, that
full life.
That there's exactly full life. Thank you. That there's an ease with online shopping, and there's an ease with, but and I will say, I also love going and buying fruits and vegetables, like from, the people who are growing. I live in a place where there's a great agriculture, and as technology increases, as social media expands at, such a crazy rate, that the more human connection that we have with our local community, it just benefits everyone, not even just the business side, but just the human to human side, where you're actually talking to people versus just, I don't know, sending a Slack or sending a message on a social media channel. So
Yeah, I think 100%. I think a lot of people over the last 2 years have experienced that firsthand, how much we need that human connection. And
yeah,
yeah, and it is convenient. And there is a lot of great businesses doing great things online too. So it's not like we
yeah,
can't shop online. There's a lot of businesses that are doing really wonderful things, but we need to know more about them so we can also shift our spending away from the ones who are not, and then also inspire them to have to do more too. So they don't lose their customers. And I think in the world we live in the capitalist systems that we live in, it has to come back to money in some way. And
mhm,
if a business is not getting those customers, then if it means then they have to start implementing some new practices that look after their people or the environment, then we spend our money there, and that's a great thing.
mhm, mhm. Well, it's wonderful that it's consumers are caring more and more about well-being practices, sustainability practices. So it sounds like and I worked in hospitality for 15 years before running this company, that it's also so much about the communication and about the PR, and sharing all the good things that you are doing, whether it's a small business or big business, that and it sounds like you're also helping, whether it's, owners or teams of businesses, help communicate the good stories so that they can shift behavior, that a lot of times
Mm.
maybe people, it's like another thing of like, oh yeah, we need to be talking about the good things we're doing, but it's actually becoming more and more important, sounds like.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, yeah, as you said, there is a growing amount of people who actually care more about these things. I think, yeah, there's certainly more needs to happen. It's
Yeah.
still very much a niche thing, right? And it's, I used to live in San Francisco, so it's such a strong thing where people really cared even more about, where they're spending their money. And I think there's pockets of that growing in different areas. And I think it will only be more beneficial for our planet if it grows even more, and
Mm-hmm.
for our people, which is the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, right? Because it's all deeply interconnected.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So let's switch now to individual people. And first of all, I have never heard of, I think you said soft sand walking meditation. That
Yeah.
sounds amazing. I'm going
I
to
think I was
Hawaii.
the first person to do it. So
Oh, I'm going to Hawaii in a month. I'm like, I wonder if they have it on Maui.
Hmm.
It sounds incredible. So people around the world, not just US and Australia, but around the world, of course, are there's a lot of overwhelm, chronic stress, fear, and uncertainty. There's challenges with sleep and getting enough movement and healthy
Hmm.
nutrition, and um, phone addiction, social media addiction, technology
Hmm.
that never ever, leaves you. And I could go on and on of just
Yeah.
different challenges. There's also a lot of wonderful things happening, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of challenges that people are facing right now. So can you talk about your awake journal? And I was reading a little bit about it, and I love these four. So I want you to share with me about these, about exploration, know yourself, meaning, and presence. And how come you created this awake journal? How can it help people? Tell me all about it.
Well, essentially, I created it just because of what you just said, because life is hard, right? And it's tricky, and there's so many challenges, and the world is unpredictable and ever changing and fickle. So it's probably fundamental or crucial that we take personal responsibility for our well-being. Otherwise, we'll struggle or suffer more than we have to.
Mhm.
And I think for me, living in the monastery, I learned so many skills and tools that allowed me to still function or grow when things went wrong. And I think it's not about always being happy all the time. It's about, it's inevitable that we'll suffer. And what's more important is having those skills and tools so we can still grow when things go wrong. And I think, over these last couple of years, we've realized that things are going to go wrong, and they're going to go wrong again. It's important that we have tools in our toolkit that allow us to look after ourselves and look after the people around us. So basically the four foundations were there. I looked at the areas in my life that were causing me suffering and the reasons why I wasn't as well as I could be. And I looked at, first step was exploration. I lacked a really authentic exploration. While I traveled to over 50 countries, I probably would have been better for my life to put more focus on my inner worlds, And maybe the best exploration happens when we aren't moving, when we're stopping and slowing down and have that introspection. So and what I mentioned at the start of the show was, it's so easy these days to run away from things that are uncomfortable, or our boredom or our loneliness. And Thich Nhat Hanh, when I was in the monastery, said this thing that was really spoke to me. He said the trick is not to run away from our suffering. And I saw that basically that's all I ever did. I used the phone, the TV, sex, relationships, just so I never had to feel anything. But the more we explore and the more we explore our inner worlds, the more we connect to our values and why we're doing the things we're doing. And we're not just doing them for outside expectations, or we're not just pushed and pulled from all angles. We start to create a stronger foundation for why we're doing things in the first place, and we're less at the whim of societal flows or what will it be. So basically I had a lack of real authentic exploration, which just caused me to be pushed and pulled in all angles, and basically just be a spectator when what we need to be is a creator of the life we're living. So in the book I've wanted to, the last book I wrote, it had a lot of, I guess, thought-provoking content, but then it didn't really take anyone to a place where they could actually implement practices that would then benefit their lives. So I wanted to be a mix of a book and a journal. So you could get the content and be provoked to making some change, but then you can actually put some things into practice that can actually shift your habits. It's sort of like riding a bike. You don't ride a bike by just reading a book about riding a bike. You have to do both, read it and then get out there and do it. So I wanted to combine those two elements. So in that exploration, you might, there starts the investigations. A lot of these deeper questions that get more comprehensive as you get through the book. And then connect to your values and your strengths exercises, just to get to start looking within rather than always looking outside for your answers. Start to feel. I think it's Jung who said we suffer because we fail to really feel and hear the unseen and unheard parts of our psyches. And I think that's a perfect example of why we should explore our inner worlds, because we can't really feel or identify when something's wrong and causing suffering. We wait till it gets too far down the line, and whereas this, it just gives us a little bit more awareness of what's happening in our lives. And that sort of takes us into know thyself and know yourself. The old Greek philosophers said the most important teaching is know thyself, and it's more important today than ever before. Otherwise, you'll just be pushed and pulled and taken in this fast-paced, modern, uber-connected, disconnected world. Yeah. So and then from there, know yourself. It goes through practices like gratitude and how am I writing meditations and different guided meditations, just to really start connecting to more to why you're doing the things you're doing. And then that naturally moves into meaning. It sort of becomes our guiding light, that is our direction in many ways, that allows us to start doing things that are more aligned to who we are, because we know who we are. We're not just running with our eyes closed with whatever's most exciting or interesting and getting pushed and pulled. We start to stand for something, and that's where that authenticity starts to play a big role. And I think that's something that is a trait that's becoming less and less in our modern world, that authenticity and genuineness. And then from there, it allows us to be more present and less worrying about past regrets or trapped in future endeavors. We can start to find a little bit of contentment and peace of mind in where we are right now. I think it's sort of, if the majority of our lives are crazy and all over the place, it's going to be even trickier to find stillness in our lives. So and that's when all the tools around meditation and the body scans and things like that come into play, just so we can find that peace of mind and contentment in where we are, rather than always waiting for something in the future. Those sort of I'll be happy when scenarios, when I get a better job or a promotion or more money or a sexier girlfriend or whatnot, right?
Right. Yes, you have a lot of expertise and passion around meditation and presence. And there's been many times you've said it throughout this conversation. I get asked all of the time when I'm speaking or working with leaders, and I work with busy professionals in different industries. And on a very regular basis, people say, I want to meditate, but I try it and it's hard, or maybe it's uncomfortable. It's hard to do it regularly. And even when they say, for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So what advice do you have for people who truly have the intention, they know it's beneficial, they want to slow down and create more presence and have mindfulness and have it be a rhythm, just like brushing their teeth, but are struggling to create that new habit?
Well, that's exactly why I started the soft sand walking meditations, because it doesn't have to be a formal sitting practice each morning at 5 a.m. for an hour, and then we rush off to our normal day. I do walking meditation every day. I did it just before we spoke here. I walked down to my local coffee shop. It's just a way to, use something that we do multiple times every single day as a vehicle or an anchor to be more alive or more curious or more engaged. It's something that we've built up, years and years of habits that when we're walking, we're always worried about where we're getting to next or what we're doing next, or
Your
a
to-do
hundred other
list.
things. Yeah, 100 other things on our to-do list. And it becomes, something that we can't just enjoy. We're always somewhere else. Our head's always further down the road, what we're doing next. And that's something that we can utilize as that vehicle to actually just be there so much. And
Okay, so
I
let's
do it
say
every day.
you
Yeah.
do it every day. I love it. Okay, so let's say, and you can teach, I have 2 daughters, so this is something you can teach children, teenagers. Okay, so let's say for someone listening, they live in a city, they're not like on a beautiful Australian beach or in the mountains, right? They're living in a city. They're in New York, they're in West Hollywood, Los Angeles, or San Francisco.
Yeah.
So how could someone start this walking meditation?
Well, I'm proof of this, because after I lived in the monastery, I lived in New York for a year. So I went straight from, these pristine
Oh,
green rolling hills to living in Brooklyn. So
yeah.
it's even more important in those places, right? Basically, there's so many different anchors you can use. You feel your feet touching the ground and come back to that again. You can feel the sun kissing your cheek. You can feel the wind kissing your skin. You can put your sound in the attention of the birds or the trains, the subway or cars, and just and every time your mind wanders, which it will, just come back to one of those anchors. Just choose a different one, just experiment and be more playful with in something new each day. So for me, I don't really wear shoes too much, which is the luxury of being near the beach. So I just feel my
Yeah.
feet on the ground again and again, and with my mind wanders, I just come back to that feeling and that soft attention. You can feel the noise in the birds, the feeling of the sun kissing your skin, and just come back to that again. And then just start with that. It's just sort of like the practice of just rejoicing in the moment, and just not worrying too much.
And I think, yeah, what I'm just hearing is your senses, like using your senses and having that intention. Yeah, I love what you're saying, because I do think, and I probably, because I haven't, when I meditate, I sit on a meditation pillow, and I like it, to get in that position, but I don't necessarily connect mindfulness, or not, I meditate in my car before I pick up my girls from school. That's another place I do it. But I don't think about incorporating it with action. And this is so wonderful for this show, because this is for business leaders and,
Yeah, I've done walking meditations for a lot of business leaders actually.
yeah.
And I did a retreat down in San Diego at the Calibrate Ventures. They were like a VC fund, and I did walking meditation. So I did a talks about how we can use walking meditation as a tool to step outside the noise and clutter, because we sit and try to outthink our problems, when sometimes we need to just step outside that for a moment to reconnect with our bodies, to give ourselves a little bit more clarity and peace of mind. If we just always constantly trying to outthink things, it's difficult and it's fraught with danger. Sometimes we need to just step outside, even if it's for a few minutes each day, just to reconnect with our bodies, and also come back to things. It's sort of like that polyvagal theory, the traffic light system, green, yellow, red. When we've got a little bit of fear or worry or stress present, we're in the yellow. We can't really be super creative. We can't really be in a place of making great decisions. So we step outside, go for a walk for a couple of minutes, really just feel that. We come back into the green. And, I use this every day of my life. And every time I step outside that for a moment, I come back in and I'm not just there under pressure and stressed. I get to, actually enjoy the work I'm doing, which while we're alive, we should probably enjoy the things we're doing.
Yeah, we should absolutely enjoy the things we're doing. I love this so much. And because also, of course, there's all the research that connects nature, when you're spending time in nature, with happiness, and also the sounds of nature with happiness. And I've been talking to so many people about creating space in their days. So everyone is, doing hour Zoom calls or 30-minute conference calls. And then you have your quick lunch and creating space. Like there's this one tech company I was just working with in New York, and I was just saying, just give yourself, like, make things, you can have a 20-minute conversation. It doesn't have to be 60 minutes. Like just create space in, in these days. And what a beautiful ritual that leaders and managers can put in of this 15-minute walk of just going outside, whether it's, morning, middle of the day, afternoon, maybe a few times a day. And a lot of people could take off their shoes depending on where they are. But that's,
and I think and in the Awake book, I've tried to make it simple in that way that it's accessible for people of all ages and all levels. And it's also, we can do that with our morning tea, a tea meditation. Instead of rushing off to the next thing, we just sit and feel the heat of the mug coming into our hands and the go through our body, and feel that warmth through our body. And we can do that with our eating meditation, which we did in the monastery, which was extremely uncomfortable at first. We're used to rushing for our meal to get to the next meeting or get to the next thing. Is just use that as a 10-minute time, just actually chew and feel the food you're eating and hear the snap of the carrot or what it is, whatever it is. And we can use that as multiple vehicles throughout the day to actually be more alive, rather than rushing through the day and maybe we jump in our Uber to rush to the meditation class, when for the 18 hours prior to that, you've been all over the place. And that's the thing, like, as you said, creating those conditions, like making it a 20-minute meeting so you have a bit more time for this, or creating conditions where when you have your cup of tea, that's 4 times a day. That's 40 minutes that you've got a chance to just stop and slow down.
To be present.
Yeah.
So, Evan, I feel like I could talk to you for another 6 hours, but hopefully I'm going to get you to come to the World Happiness Summit with me. So if people want to connect with you, find out more about the book and about Hapsley and, the business leaders, how can people connect with you and follow you?
They can connect with me, evansutter.com, Sutter, and Hapsley, hapzly.com.au. They're the 2 websites and then the book Awake is available at most bookstores there in the US, and especially the big online ones, and all around the UK and Australia. So, and then you get me on the website, evansutter.com is probably best, and Hapsley at Instagram also.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. You've been super inspiring. You've inspired me a lot to rethink a little bit of my daily ritual. So I appreciate that, and wish you the best of luck and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, great to join you, Tia. Have a great day.